So today I'm going to teach you exactly how to use the Lord's Prayer as the blueprint to manifest everything that you want in your life right now. From love and wealth all the way down to peace of mind. The Lord's Prayer is a powerful manifestation formula that is quite literally hidden in plain sight. So I'm guessing you've probably heard the Lord's Prayer your entire life. But what if I told you that Jesus wasn't just teaching us how to pray? In fact, he was teaching us how to create the exact life that you want to experience. Here's the thing. The words are aligned with deep metaphysical codes that align your mind, your heart, your body, but most importantly, your spirit, with divine intelligence. So, the opening line of this prayer is essentially to remind us that we are not alone, but we are always connected to the source, the great I am, to the divine. And the reason for this is that it's important for us to remember that while we are on this physical plane, we are not separate from that which created us, He who created us, right? It is an illusion to think that we are just because it looks that way to the natural eye. The key thing here is this. When we say, Our Father who art in heaven, right? It's important to remember that heaven is the realm of the unseen. Heaven is the spiritual realm. The reason we start here, of course, is quite simply because the divine is the source of all creation, right? So if I'm trying to manifest something in my life, where else would I go but the infinite source of all creation? This line is where we acknowledge and we come to revere the divine. But here's the interesting thing here. What you are doing when you acknowledge and you revere the divine, right? You are actually acknowledging the divine within self as well. Remember, if there is no separation, right, and you are acknowledging He, that which created you, right, it means you are in essence acknowledging yourself as well. Okay, and this is where we kind of now the two then kind of meet, right? This is where you then experience it physiologically even, right? And you feel it in your body, but you understand that you are not separate. Okay, He is within you. I will not leave nor forsake you, right? That's what this is that's what it causes. This is the reminder that He won't leave you, He won't forsake you, because it's literally impossible. Now, that's all good and everything, right? But you may ask, what does this actually do? What is the point? At this stage, you are raising your vibration, okay? Why? Because God is a higher vibration, right, than our natural world, right? Easiest put, the vibration of love, right, to put it easily. And so when you revere the divine, you are coming into remembrance of your own divinity, which in essence raises your own vibration. Now, why do you want to do this? Because everything that you want to manifest, I'm pretty sure, is on a higher vibration or frequency than you currently are. This is why you want to match the energy. So if it's a new job that you want, if it's a new car, if it's a new house, or simply the perfect relationship, all that it is that wherever you are right now is not where your desire is, right? But where your desire is a higher frequency relative to where you are, right? And where the divine is the highest frequency. Now, this is important to remember. When we say, let thy kingdom come, remember the kingdom of God is within, right? This is, in other words, the unseen realm, the spiritual realm, okay? So it's really like pulling from the spiritual into the physical, whatever it is that you want. It's like you're saying, my dream car is no longer in the spiritual. I have it now, it's in the physical. My job, this wonderful job that I want, it's no longer an idea in my mind. I've got it now. Okay? Thy kingdom come. Because you've got to remember, His plans are to prosper you, right? So you're not just saying, let it manifest from the unseen into the seen, you're also saying in line with the will of the divine. Why? Because it's always going to work out for your best. It's always going to work out for your highest good. Now, the key thing to remember here is that as you make your declarations, your affirmations, your prayers, it's important to remember that your words carry vibration. They are energy. They are literally creating what you're saying as you are saying it, right? And so, whatever your desires are, right? When you say your affirmations, right? I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, I am strong, I'm beautiful, my businesses are booming, whatever it is, you are quite literally pulling that in from the unseen into the physical realm, right? Because it's in alignment with what? With the energy that you are now resonating at, right? Remember, by this point in the prayer, you've raised your frequency. And so now everything that you want, because it's higher vibrational anyway, now it's a lot easier for you to be a match, a vibrational match, and thus manifestation. Now, I need you to pay attention to something here that I want to highlight quickly. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This line is the epitome of the phrase creation is finished. So notice this, as it is in heaven. If it's already done in heaven, in other words, if it's already done in the spirit, that means creation is finished. I don't need to do anything. I don't even need to figure out the how, right? So all that I actually need to do is just get in alignment. This should tell us then that if everything is malleable, everything is energy, because everything is matter, right? And if vibration is the state of all things, that means your desires are always available to you at any given point, but specifically in the here and now. So it's key to understand and remember that quite literally nothing separates you from your manifestations. The only thing that keeps you separate, and in fact the illusion of separation, is just your frequency, right? It's just the energy that you're residing at, which means I just need to change whatever it is that I am feeling in my body, because it comes down to that. Sure, repetition in your beliefs, but the quickest way that I found is embodiment, because your state is what creates. The internal will always externalize itself. Now, I want you to notice something here. Notice that this line is said in the present tense. This is not by mistake. This line is to remind you to detach, because when you are detached, you are not busy trying to manipulate the hows and the when, right? You are more so in the state of being present. Present means I'm open to receiving. And it's important to remember, if you've manifested anything ever before, which if you're watching this, I'm positive you have, it's important to remember that manifestations will usually come in when we are the most relaxed, when you are basically not putting in any effort, right? This is why the prayer reminds us to be present. This is the key difference, essentially, between being in your masculine energy, right? Where you are efforting, trying to make it happen, looking into the house, right? Versus resting in your feminine energy and being on the receiving end. Now, this is probably one of my favorite lines throughout the prayer. Reason being, it actually clears out emotional and energetic blockages. Because a lot of the time, when our manifestations are delayed, is usually because of some limiting belief or even a traumatic memory or experience, right? This part of the prayer is basically about clearing out all of that negative energy. Because you must remember, as human beings, we are vessels, right? And depending on what we house in our vessel, that's exactly what we are going to create and thus experience, right? So depending on what you house in your mental space, in your emotional space, right? That affects your physiological being as well, but ultimately is exactly what you are going to experience in return. So say, for example, you had a relationship, right? And the person was unfaithful to you, right? When that happens, you have one of two choices. You are either going to look at that situation and go, what is wrong with me? Why would they do that to me? I must be at fault. Something must be wrong with me, right? Now, the problem with that is that that situation is so emotionally charged, right? That you are going to take these limiting beliefs. That's where your mind is going to stay. That's going to be powered by your emotions. And as such, your next relationship, more likely than not, something similar is going to happen, right? Because you have stored the beliefs about yourself and relationships to be that negative. But what's more, they are powered by the emotion. Remember, emotions will always follow where the mind goes, right? So this is why when negative things happen, when traumatic situations happen, you want to acknowledge, you want to accept, you want to release. Because otherwise, you house the negativity in your body, in your mind, in your heart, then you experience it. This is a line that truly reminds us that it's so important to clear out the energetic blocks, the negative experiences, or in other words, forgive. Forgiveness is another fantastic way to detach from a situation. Because if you are not all tangled up in your mind and in your heart space about that negative experience, you let it go. You let the emotions go, right? And you either want to come to a place of neutral or even a positive idea. So you've got to remember that forgiveness is this powerful. It actually clears out the negative emotions that you would otherwise store physiologically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay, it clears all of that out. And what you now then do is now you're okay, what's my preferred story about relationships, about myself with regards to relationships, in order to create the highest, best experience for yourself in that situation, in that area. And this is why they always say forgiveness is for yourself, not the other person. Because when you detach, you essentially disengage yourself from the situation, from the person emotionally. So because you're not feeding your energy, your emotions into this particular type of narrative around relationships, you cannot experience it any longer, right? So let it go. This is also why triggers can be such a thing as well, right? Because the mind might forget, but the body keeps the score, right? So you want to release that energy entirely. Line here is truly a reminder. What are you engaging in mentally and emotionally? What beliefs are you already running on autopilot? Because if I decide to take on the narrative, unconsciously so, that, oh, I'm always stressed, oh, I never have enough time to finish my projects, right? Feelings of stress and anxiety and depression, oh, I'm always depressed, this or that or the other, you are creating that. We've already established your words carry vibration, they carry energy, they create. In as much as positive affirmations create, so do negative ones, right? So it's about personal accountability and taking inventory, right? Of, well, what am I running on now? What do I need to change in order to get a better experience? This is where we once again lean into the idea of detachment. You can look at this in two ways. Quantum physicists will explain this essentially as the idea that when you observe specific particles, right, and you actually do that for long enough, they have to collapse into physical reality. In other words, create the experience that you envisioned, that you pictured, that you meditated on. This is where it is vital to note that this is not just a spiritual truth, it's not just a spiritual concept, but it is scientifically proven as well, right? In essence, surrender is key, detachment is necessary. So now that you understand the prayer line by line, let's talk about exactly why it works. See, the Lord's Prayer perfectly encompasses the ideas of alignment, surrender, gratitude, and intention. And if you've ever manifested anything before, I know that all of these are key and pivotal to manifesting anything with as much ease and quickness as possible. Now, on the other hand, modern scientists call this the observer effect, whereas spiritually, we call it surrender or faith. In other words, your reality has no choice but to shift when you go at it like this. If this has resonated with you at all, I do hope you will stick around for more. And if you are ready to master manifesting better than you already have, definitely check the link below and let's get you into alignment with everything that you desire. I will see you soon.